Prabhu about accepting. Prabhupada mentioned one should not just accept a guru in his mind and his heart, but has to be done practically. And he says one must be initiated in the process left by the acharya, which, as we know, is the initiation via the ritvik acharya process of initiation. Please, can you clarify what is the qualification of a ritvik acharya, and can anyone become a ritvik acharya? Well, basically, judging from Prabhupada, devotees were following the principles, chanting their rounds, and engaging in preaching activities for the mission. In 1977, senior men were chosen by Srila Prabhupada. That's a well-established fact. As far as the same qualifications, if somebody chants and follows, one can technically do. Basically, it's basically a service. It is not a position. It is not that one can claim this is my zone, my this, my that. That's another big nonsense that was introduced in 1978. My zone, my temple, my disciple, my money, my this. This was best summarized by a guru in London, England. He says, it's my temple, my money, my disciples, and I can do whatever I want with it. Well, welcome to false ego. Thank you. False ego and steroids. Basically, the point is to give people the chance to become followers and students of Srila Prabhupada, following the discipline, becoming a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, getting absorbed in a divyam jnanam given by Srila Prabhupada, and the function of a ritvik or representative is just to facilitate that process. Now, one thing I've seen is some people who claim to follow this system, some of them are very fond of sitting on Vyasasana and getting their feet washed. Yes. If somebody feels that they're a Mahabhagavat, or if they're actually a Mahabhagavat, then there probably is no objection. But in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 24, text 330, there's a specific injunction that only a Mahabhagavat can take that position. It is not so cheap. We worship the Guru as good as God because he's a topmost Mahabhagavat. Now, somebody may not be a topmost Mahabhagavat, may be following strictly, giving relevant instruction and preaching. So in that case, we could say somebody could be. But then there's the institutional issue that people say, well, so-and-so has not been authorized by the GBC of ISKCON. Well, the GBC of ISKCON has already rejected Prabhupada's instruction. They've already disobeyed Prabhupada's order, so they'll not accept that. We follow that, and basically that's the process. I hope it helps.
Yes, Prabhupada, thank you. So just regarding that, so how does the devotees that are aspiring now for this initiation, because there are many groups around or institutions or societies that are giving ritvik initiation. And as you mentioned now, some of them sit on Vyasasans and get their feet washed, which is obviously not authorized. It's not the procedure. So how do we tell these devotees and share with them that this is not the process, and that this process of ritvik initiation should be by a person who is in full faith of Srila Prabhupada and is following accordingly? He is of a higher standard and should be regarded as a senior devotee, not only by the knowledge of what he has, but by his actions and the way he conducts himself. That's most important. So if you can comment on that, please.
In the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Madhya Lila, Srila Prabhupada explains the process of initiation. And he says that when people follow for 6 months to a year, then they're recommended by one of the representatives. And in Prabhupada's time, it was the temple presidents who observed the candidates, would train them, would engage them in Samkirtan, and then would recommend them to be initiated. That was the process. For second initiation, Prabhupada recommended they should follow at least for a year, be more fixed up, and no fall down at least for a year, because there had been situations where people had been initiated as Brahmins for convenience, just to get somebody in the kitchen or the pujari room, and Prabhupada did not want that. He wanted people to be properly trained. As a matter of fact, by 1976, he wanted to introduce Brahminical examinations for devotees to be also learned in the scriptures, not just to follow, but to learn the scriptures, his books, like that. So the process of initiation, there was a qualification process. People should follow at least for 6 months to a year, chant the round, follow in Sanskrit, the technical term is called purascharya. But the chanting of the holy name of Krishna does not depend upon initiation. Like in the Padyavali of Rupa Goswami cites a verse, na diksham na purascharyam. In other words, that the diksha, the official diksha, does not depend upon initiation ceremony. Anybody can chant Hare Krishna anytime and get the benefit. The diksha is meant to make that commitment to follow the acharya, to make progressive spiritual advancement. That's the meaning. And Prabhupada has made many statements, sometimes that it's a formality, other times it's not a formality. Prabhupada said one time, your determination to follow the principles, that is the real initiation. Another time, Prabhupada said the initiation ceremony is important for devotees to make the commitment. So there's a lot of different statements by Srila Prabhupada regarding the meaning of initiation, the process, the preparation. But it is important. Prabhupada did factually introduce the process, and devotees should follow. Now, our group, Hare Krishna Society and the Prabhupada Disciples Association, we do have an internal Brahmanical board where we discuss these issues. And if anybody wants to be, we recommend them to come to our classes at least for 6 months. They have to get a recommendation from a devotee who is fairly fixed up. And then they have to pass a little test that Prabhupada gave in 1969. It's a very simple Bhakti Shastri test of about 12, 15 questions. It's pretty simple. It's not very complicated, like who is Krishna and what's the difference between faith and religion. This was very simple compared to the more advanced test that Prabhupada was envisioning by 1976. But the process, we follow a process so that devotees who are serious, they want to make that commitment. We also do the same for second initiation. We have examination like that. Because the point is, we don't want to make the initiation process a farce. Yes. We don't want to make it like it becomes a complete farce. Just like I know of one devotee, and I'm not going to name the name of the country or where or the name, but a lot of people have sprung up giving initiations, and nobody knows what process they follow, what sorting process, whether or not the people are really qualified. And unfortunately, a lot of time, after 6 months, 8 months, a year later, the people are either not following or bewildered or not. So there's a certain process that Srila Prabhupada recommended, and we follow that process, or we try the best we can to follow that process and move things forward. Now, Vishwakarma, I'd like to comment on that because he was the temple president and he got many people initiated. And what was the process during Prabhupada's time?
Thank you.
Just briefly, and then we'll carry on because we're coming to the end of the class. But Nityananda Prabhu, really initiation comes from the heart of the candidate, that they feel a genuine connection with Srila Prabhupada as their guru, and they're prepared to surrender their life to his service, because that's a commitment that you make. And then this initiation is a formality, really. Prabhupada, as you know, explained it like that, because what is initiation? It means to begin. You're initiating, you're starting into the process of devotional service under the guidance of the pure devotee. And Prabhupada has given us those different rules and regulations to follow. And when you make that commitment and you follow those instructions and you carry on throughout your life, then by the grace of the pure devotee, you can make some advancement in Krishna consciousness. So it's really the commitment of the individual, not the recommendation by the person. It really is that. And unfortunately, if one is qualified like this to take up the process and practice it, then they're blessed by Srila Prabhupada's mercy. So it's a transcendental relationship between Prabhupada and the individual. And this position of the president, when I was the president of the Toronto Temple for 10 years, I studied different people because there was rules that you followed. Like, for example, did you get up for Mangal Arti? that was important. Did you participate in this devotional service that you were given? How did you take it up? Were you enthusiastic, or was it always a problem for you to do your service? And like that, you were able to monitor them. And when you saw people that were qualified by their personal behavior, then they became qualified to be recommended to Prabhupada, and then he would accept it. And then the person, again, it is a formality, but there is a formal initiation. And that's what we're introducing here. And you're asking a question about other groups. Yes, there are lots of groups carrying on with this system, but that's up to each individual that's sincere about this process to make a decision. What group is qualified?